I never imagined that one stupid accusation, would turn my own father against me. But that was exactly what happened the day he believed his new wife over me. And I still remember the moment everything changed, like someone had slammed a door shut inside my chest. My name is Erin, I'm 16, and until last summer, it had always been just me and Dad. My mom passed away when I was 9, and ever since, it was the two of us against the world. Dad worked long hours, but he always made time for me. Late-night burgers, video game weekends, fishing trips. He used to call me Champ. But after he met Lena, everything changed. She was sweet at first, too sweet, the kind of sweet that makes you suspicious without knowing why. She complimented my grades, pretended to love my drawings, brought me gifts for bonding. But when she married my dad, the mask slowly came off. She started acting like the house was hers, like Dad and I were guests in her perfect little kingdom. Still, I tried to be respectful. She wasn't my mom, but I didn't want problems. I swallowed her snide comments, ignored the way she accidentally moved my stuff, and pretended not to hear when she told her friends on the phone that raising a teenager was basically charity work. But everything exploded the day she lied, the day she said I disrespected her. It started on a Saturday morning. I had just come home from basketball practice, sweaty, exhausted, starving. I walked into the kitchen and saw Lena standing there with her arms folded, staring at the counter like someone had died. Her new crystal vase, the one she bragged about for weeks, lay shattered on the floor. "Oh," I said, stopping in the doorway. "What happened?" She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly turned toward me with this cold, controlled anger, like a villain in a movie who finally reveals their true self. Her voice was sharp. "You did this." I blinked. "What? No, I literally just got home." She stepped closer, her lips tightening. "You slammed your bedroom door this morning. I heard it, and the vibration knocked it off." "I wasn't even home this morning," I said, confused. "I left at 7 for practice." But she didn't care. Her eyes narrowed like she'd been waiting for this. "You're lying to me, Erin, and you're going to apologize." I laughed nervously, thinking this was a misunderstanding. But she didn't laugh. She didn't even blink. Instead, she picked up one of the broken shards and held it up carefully. "This vase is worth more than everything in your room. You will apologize." "No," I said firmly, "because I didn't do it." That was the moment Dad walked in. He looked tired, he'd been working night shifts, but Lena immediately burst into fake tears and ran to him like some wounded angel. "Erin broke my vase and now he's yelling at me." Dad's eyes flashed with disappointment and my chest tightened. "I didn't touch it," I protested. "Dad, I wasn't even here." "Enough," he snapped. "Why would she lie?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. Why would she lie? I didn't know, at least not then. Dad didn't wait for explanations. He grounded me for 2 weeks, took my phone, took my laptop, told me he was tired of my attitude. All because Lena knew how to cry on cue. The next few days were hell. Lena walked around the house like she had won. She asked Dad loudly, "Do you want peace and quiet without teenage drama?" She smirked at me when he wasn't looking. She even moved my snacks to the top shelves, knowing I couldn't reach them without a chair. But the worst part? Dad stopped talking to me, except for basic instructions. He barely looked at me. My own father, the man who once told me he'd always believe me, now trusted a woman he had known less than a year over his own son. I spent my grounding sitting in my room staring at the ceiling. I tried replaying everything in my head. Did I miss something? Did she hate me? Was she trying to get rid of me? One evening while I sat on the edge of my bed, Dad came in. He didn't sit, didn't meet my eyes. "Erin, I need you to try harder with Lena. She's your family now," he said quietly. "No," I said. "She's your wife, not my family, and she's lying." He shook his head and walked out. The door clicked shut like a judge slamming a gavel. The truth came out 3 nights later, and it hit harder than anything I could have imagined. It was around midnight when I woke up thirsty. Grounded or not, I needed water. I walked downstairs silently, careful not to wake Dad. But when I reached the living room, I froze.
Lena was sitting on the couch, but she wasn't alone. She was curled up next to a guy I'd never seen before. He had his arm around her shoulders, and she was laughing softly into his neck. My stomach dropped. She kissed him. Full-on kissed him, right in my house. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. All the fake sweetness, all the manipulation, everything suddenly made sense. She wasn't trying to push me out. She was trying to isolate Dad. She wanted control. And she definitely didn't want me around to catch her cheating. I backed up silently, but my foot hit the edge of a shoe someone had left on the floor. It made a soft but clear sound. Lena's head whipped around. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw me standing there. "Aaron," she hissed, "what's going on?" The guy asked, but I didn't answer her. Instead, I spoke loud enough for the whole house to hear. "Dad!" The way Lena's face drained of color, pure panic. She jumped up and rushed toward me, whisper shouting, "Stop! Don't wake him! It's not what you think!" But I stepped back and yelled again, "Dad!" Seconds later, Dad stumbled down the stairs, half asleep. "What's Aaron? What are you?" Then he saw Lena. Saw the guy. Saw their hands still half linked from when she stood up. The shock on his face turned into slow, burning devastation. "Lena, who is that?" She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Dad didn't need an answer. Everything clicked for him at once. The lies, the manipulation, the broken vase, the dramatic tears. He looked at me, and for the first time in months, he actually saw me. That night destroyed their marriage, and it all began because she tried to blame me. What she didn't expect was that I'd be the one to catch her secret, and once the truth came out, Dad realized how badly he had failed me. Dad just stood there on the stairs, barefoot, confused, hurt, staring at the scene in front of him like he was trapped inside a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Lena was shaking. The guy beside him was frozen mid-step, and I felt something heavy lift off my chest, like months of silent suffering were finally being dragged into the light. Dad's voice cracked when he finally spoke. "Lena, who is he?" For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the guy stepped forward awkwardly, extending a hand as if this was some kind of casual introduction. I'm Paul." Dad didn't shake his hand. He just stared at him the same way a drowning person stares at a wave crashing above them. Lena forced a smile that looked like a dying plant struggling for sunlight. "Daniel, it's not what you think." "Really?" Dad snapped. "Because it looks like my wife is sitting on the couch with another man's hands all over her." Her cheeks flushed red. "Daniel, listen." But Dad raised a hand. "Don't call me Daniel. Not right now." The guy, Paul, looked at Lena with confusion. "You said you two were separated." Lena's eyes widened with horror. "What? No, Paul, I didn't." Dad let out a breath so broken it almost sounded like a cry. "You told him we were separated?" Lena stepped toward him. "I didn't mean... Daniel, just let me explain." But Dad backed away. "Don't touch me." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating, and I felt myself trembling even though I wasn't the one being confronted. I didn't know where to look. My dad's face, Lena's panic, Paul's confusion. It felt like watching a building collapse in slow motion, debris flying everywhere. Lena finally snapped. "Why is he even here?" she shouted, pointing at me. "He's the reason all of this is happening." Dad's head turned slowly toward her. "Say that again?" Lena swallowed. "Daniel, he hates me. He's been trying to turn you against me since the first day. He even broke my vase." "I told you," I cut in. "I wasn't here." She snapped toward me. "Shut up!" Dad stepped in between us. "No," he said sharply. "You don't yell at my son." Lena froze, and Dad's words echoed in the room like thunder. "My son." For the first time in months, he said it with protection, with warmth, with the father I used to know hiding somewhere inside him. But Lena wasn't done lying. "Daniel, he's trying to make you hate me. He's poisoning this family." Dad slammed his hand against the wall, startling us all. There is no family when one of us is cheating. The truth hit her like a slap. Her shoulders slumped, her hands trembled, And for the first time, she didn't have a script to follow. No tears, no manipulation, no carefully constructed lies. Just fear. Real fear. Daniel, I'm sorry. I made a mistake, but it wasn't serious. It was only emotional. He's just a friend. Paul scoffed. Excuse me? Emotional? We've been dating for 4 months. Dad's eyes widened. 4 months? My stomach twisted. That means she had been cheating before she even married him. Dad's voice cracked. That's before the wedding. Lena looked sick. I was confused, Daniel. I was under stress. You lied, Dad whispered, about your job, about your money, about my son, and now this. Her voice turned desperate. Daniel, please, I love you. He was just a mistake. Paul looked offended. Wow, thanks. Dad ignored him completely.
I never thought a simple argument would turn into the night that exposed everything. After being grounded for disrespecting my dad's new wife, Marissa, I had been careful, very careful, to avoid any sort of conflict. But avoiding her was becoming impossible. She always found the smallest things to twist against me, as if her mission was to paint me as the problem child. That night, Dad was returning late from work, and the house felt unusually quiet. Marissa was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, pretending she didn't notice me cleaning the kitchen. I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it because I wanted no trouble. When my dad was angry, the whole world felt unstable. As I wiped the counter, I heard Marissa say under her breath, "Let's see how long the brat keeps pretending to be helpful." I froze, but I didn't respond. I had learned the hard way that reacting to her traps only made things worse. Then her phone buzzed. She grabbed it instantly, typing fast, too fast, with a smile she never gave my dad. Something inside me prickled. For months, she had been strangely protective of her phone, turning the screen away whenever someone walked by. Dad ignored it, but I couldn't. Another message. Her smile widened. I could swear I heard a giggle. Who was she texting like that? She suddenly stood up and walked upstairs, leaving her phone charger behind, but she took the phone with her. That was unusual. She usually plugged it in downstairs. A small thought poked at my mind. Is she hiding someone? I shook the thought away. I didn't want drama. But later that night, I heard the front door quietly click open. I peeked out from my room and saw Marissa slipping outside with a jacket, her phone in hand. Curiosity isn't a crime, right? I quietly went downstairs and looked out the window. A silver car pulled up. Someone was inside. She got in quickly, and the car drove off. My heart thudded. She wasn't with Dad. She wasn't with a friend. This was something else. I couldn't ignore it anymore. But I also couldn't tell Dad without proof. He would think I was trying to ruin his marriage. He was blind when it came to her. So I decided to stay awake until she came back. It was around 2 a.m. when she returned. I watched her sneak back inside, carefully placing her shoes in a different spot as if tracking footprints mattered. Then she walked straight to Dad's office room and washed her face in the small sink there. Weird. Why not use the main bathroom? The next day, Dad acted like nothing was wrong. Marissa made breakfast, humming to herself. She never hummed. She looked refreshed, maybe a little too refreshed. When Dad went to take a shower, her phone buzzed on the table. Once, twice, then again. She wasn't in the room. I didn't touch it, but I leaned just enough to see the notification preview. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. Jay. My stomach dropped. Who the hell was Jay? Before I could react, Marissa grabbed the phone as if it were a newborn baby. Her eyes landed on me with a cold smirk. See something interesting? She asked. No, I said. Good, because if you ever touch my phone, I'll make sure your dad sends you away for real. The threat was casual, but heavy. That was the moment I realized she wasn't just manipulative, she was dangerous. Later that afternoon, something unexpected happened. Dad came out of his office holding an envelope. He seemed nervous, confused even.
Marissa immediately panicked. "What's that?" she asked too quickly. "Something addressed to you," Dad said. My brain sharpened. A letter? To Marissa? From who? Dad handed it to her and she snatched it like it might explode. She didn't open it immediately. She took it to the bedroom and locked the door. Dad frowned. Why lock the door? I said nothing, but I was thinking everything. Whatever was in that envelope, she did not want him to see. That night, I heard them arguing, quiet but tense. Marissa accused him of invading her privacy, and Dad kept saying he didn't even open the letter. Something was cracking between them. At 1 a.m., I heard another sound. The back door opening again. I crept down the stairs. Marissa was leaving the house again. I grabbed my phone. This time, I followed her. At a distance, but close enough to see the same silver car pull up, she got inside, the silhouette of a man leaned toward her, and they kissed. My breath caught in my throat. Proof. Cold. Solid. Unavoidable. I recorded it. Just a few seconds. Enough to end the lies. When I got home, Dad was sitting at the dining table, waiting. His face was red from crying, drinking, maybe both. "Where were you?" he asked quietly. "I followed her," I said without hesitation. "And I found out what she's really doing." His eyes narrowed. "Don't start." I handed him my phone. "Just watch." He resisted, then pressed play. Marissa. Kissing another man, laughing, touching his face like my dad didn't exist. Dad's face drained of color. He replayed it. Then again. Then again. His voice finally cracked. Why would she? The ground shifted beneath us both. I sat beside him. "Dad, she's been doing this for months. She's lying to you, and she's manipulating you into grounding me so you don't question her." That broke something inside him. He looked at me like seeing me clearly for the first time in a year. "You were trying to tell me and I didn't listen." His hands trembled. "I'm so sorry." I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just said, "Now you know." The silence around us didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like a storm was coming. And I knew this was only the beginning. The secret in the envelope and the collapse of their marriage. Dad didn't sleep that night. I know because every time I woke up, the light downstairs was still on. Sometimes I heard him pacing, sometimes just sitting, replaying the video. By morning, he looked like someone had stolen the foundation of his world. When Marissa finally came downstairs, pretending everything was normal, Dad didn't say a word to her. That alone rattled her. She was used to controlling him with her dramatic reactions and sweet tones, but his silence was different, heavy, real. She made breakfast as always, but her hands trembled. She didn't dare ask him anything. She only spoke when he left for work early without touching the food. Then she turned to me. "What did you do?" I looked directly at her. "I didn't do anything. You did." Her eyes darkened like storm clouds. "You think he's going to listen to you? You think you're important enough?" I didn't respond. Because for the first time, I knew she was scared. And scared people make mistakes. That afternoon, Dad returned home early. Very early. He looked at me and said, "I need you to see something." He held an envelope in his hand. My heart jumped. The envelope from yesterday. He finally opened it. Inside was a set of documents, bank statements, credit card bills, hotel receipts, all belonging to Marissa and all showing transactions from the past 6 months. Dinner for 2, hotel bookings, jewelry stores, payments to an unknown person labeled only as J. Dad wasn't stupid. He just loved too hard. He said it was old paperwork, he whispered, but these are from last week. The truth was now undeniable. He wasn't angry. He was broken. That evening, he waited for her again, this time deliberately. When Marissa walked through the door, dressed too nicely for grocery shopping, Dad was sitting with the envelope in front of him. Her face fell instantly. What's this? You tell me, Dad said quietly. She sat slowly, eyes darting between me and the documents. This is a misunderstanding. Which part? Dad asked calmly. The hotel rooms? The dinners? The man texting you last night? Or the fact that you've been leaving the house at 2 a.m.? Her lips parted, then closed. She couldn't breathe, couldn't blink. She knew she was caught. I can explain, she stammered. Then explain, he said calmly, too calmly. She burst into tears, fake tears, the kind where someone tries to distort their face before the water even comes. It's not what you think, Dad cut her off. Stop lying. Those two words hit her like a slap. For the first time since marrying her, Dad wasn't the weak one. He wasn't the apologizer. He wasn't the pleaser. He was a man betrayed. Marissa stood up suddenly, switching tactics. If you're going to attack me based on something your brat of a child made up, I stepped forward and played the video again. Her jaw dropped. Her skin went white. You filmed me? She screamed. You cheated on my dad. Don't act like the victim. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. She froze. That's when he said the words that changed everything. I want a divorce. She didn't accept it at first. She threw everything. Tears, threats, manipulation. She said he would regret it, said she would take half the house, said she would destroy his life with stories. Dad didn't flinch. Try it, he said softly. The video and the documents say more than enough. Then he did something that shocked even me. He